We are going to export out sound from audio decks. We're going to, in this case, use 3 of the Zoom H4Ns, and we're going to sync them up in Audacity, then trim them up, and then we'll have all of our tracks that we want to edit. Now, with a H4N, you have potentially 4 microphones per deck. We're only going to use the 2 inputs on the bottom of each deck so that we can use our own microphones. So I'm going to grab the files I've already downloaded from the H4N. If you're not sure how to do that, look at that and see that process. But I have the files, I've saved them into a folder for the name of the group that's working, and I'll go like this, drag and drop them into Audacity. What you're going to notice, once this is done here, it drags and drops both the left and right inputs for the bottom of each audio deck. Now in this case, we only had 1 input, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this track into 2 mono tracks and break up the stereo. Same thing for this one. And I split them, and then I just delete the one where we didn't have anything recorded. And then on this deck, we had 1 input for 1 instrument and the second input for a different instrument. Again, this was like vocals, and this was bass on the one different decks. And then this deck, we had 2 different guitar sources, and left and right. I'm going to split these off in a moment, but first I want to sync up. So this was where the clap was, right here. And all 3 decks were started at different times, so we have to sync that up. So what I do is, in this case, I'm going to go up and grab the tool. Now the tools are named something, so the time shift tool, I know that because I just drag over the tool and the name pops up. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to move this so it's roughly in line with this right here, and then I'll click on this one and I'm going to do the same thing. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab the selection tool. Wait for it. The name will pop up. Whoa! This is kind of fun. And what I'm going to do is select this whole area, and I'm going to zoom in using the zoom tool here. And the idea being that I want to continue to zoom in so that I can get really close in. So you can see how inaccurate I was when we're zoomed into this level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the time warp tool again. I'll click down here to deselect. I'm still on the time warp tool, and I'm going to go like this and look for the most percussive, the highest line, which would be the sharpest attack. And when you do this, you want to be positioned in between all the microphones as best possible. Obviously, I was closer to this mic than the other mics. So I do that. I get all these lined up pretty well. And again, if I wanted to be really crazy, I could zoom in even more, and you would see that I still have room to move to get these things really precise. But at this point, it's kind of, diminishing returns. So I'm going to click right here to zoom it back out to fit the window. There we go. And I know that these are all lined up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the area before the clap, because I don't need that anymore. And I'll look at the tail here. It looks like they're all pretty much the same. Sometimes you'll have a file that's a little bit further, and it's not really necessary to listen to it. So like you could select this right here, solo this, and play it. Yeah, I'll just leave that there because I don't really care. I'll take that off. And now I'm going to split these tracks to split mono. And so they're different, again, guitar 1 and guitar 2. Next thing I do is I'll label this. So right here we've got voice, and I'll click here, name this. This was bass, and I'll click OK. And right here, if I know the guitarist or whatever, I could just put that in here. But I'll say guitar 1 and guitar 2. There. Now I have this, and I'm going to save it. And when I save it, I want to place it into an area where it all stays together. So right now, I'm going to name this Wednesday, and because that's the day we recorded it. Now, this was already here, and this should overwrite it. This was a file I did earlier. I just, as a practice, I'm going to erase that one. So I hit save, and it says overwrite. Whoops. Let me do that again. File and save project. I'm going to do this. Click OK on that, and when I click save, right here it says yes, because it was defaulting to no, which is good because I don't want to accidentally overwrite something. Now if I close this and I go back into where the files are stored, and go here, you will notice that Wednesday, there's a folder with the data files in it, and this goes deep and has a bunch of stuff. This folder and this file have to stay together. So I like to make a folder and put all this stuff together. Here are the original tracks in case I had a problem. I keep those, and then I have these two, and I just call it Wednesday Green Room. And let me go back in here, and we'll call it Green Room, not Rune, because that's funny. So now I have that, and I could do something with it. Now, one more thing about this file is these are all separate, and I can do that, but if I wanted to export out single files, what I would need to do is, there's a couple different ways. If I mute, well, actually just solo this right here and export out a WAV file, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to put this back into, let's see, go here, and I'm going to go back to the desktop where I was. I like to keep things organized. Ooh, where's desktop? Okay, well that's great. Well, that's just special. Applications, downloads, movies. Okay. Well. There we go, desktop. So I'm going to save this here. I'm going to go back into the green room, and I'll say this is voice. Okay, and I'm not going to add anything else to it right here. Now, as a proof of concept, if I open this up, I'm just going to have this play in QuickTime, just as a sample. It's just a voice track. Okay. Now, if I solo this and I export WAV file bass, and I would do this for each individual track, then I can import in these tracks, bass. Where did voice go? There we go. I can import these into Soundtrap or GarageBand or wherever I want to. So this is a little bit kludgy by using this process, but it allows you to use the audio decks and then sync things up and then continue to edit in whatever digital audio workstation you would like to. And there you go.